I really hoped to become a solicitor, but I had to come back to my hometown for reasons beyond my control, including that my father needed help on his farm, Cowtail Dairy. My mum died when I was 2, and I don't have any siblings. The farm was also becoming too much for my father, and it was struggling financially. I hadn't planned to stay longer than the summer, but here I am 20 years later. I really thought I'd be a partner in my own firm by now, but every time I talked about returning to the law, my father would dissuade me, telling me that he needed me. I worked so hard, put in a lot of hours, getting up at 4 a.m. and not getting back indoors until 10 that night sometimes. I cared for the animals, dealt with customers and part-time workers, and my father encouraged me to take on more and more of the responsibility of running it. Still, I would talk about returning to the law, but he would repeatedly promise, everything here is yours when I'm gone. That's the only reason I stayed. I soon realised that the business was struggling, so put in a lot of hard work, time and money of my own into developing a small vineyard on the spare farmland known as Cowtail Estates. It took a while, but the vineyard produced an award-winning English wine, and as a result has finally made the farm profitable and successful. My father played very little part in this, arguing with me about spending money on the vineyard instead of the dairy. I continued taking a very small salary, instead putting most of the profit back into the farm and into diversifying the business and ensuring its longevity. My father died just a couple of weeks ago, and I went to see a probate lawyer about his will, which he made 5 years ago and which he showed to me. To my complete shock, I found out that he had made some changes to his will just a few weeks before his death, leaving everything he owned, including the farmland, the farmhouse, Cowtail Dairy and estates, to his new girlfriend Ursula. My father had always said that everything would go to me. My father first met Ursula about 8 months ago at a local cow auction. She is 35 years younger than him, and she moved into the farmhouse after just a few months from when they met. Ursula and I didn't really get on. I thought she was a gold digger from the start, and I even know that she attends Alcoholics Anonymous. That or she's having an affair with someone she meets regularly once a week. She'd regularly comment about the farm's business, how I was lazy and not supporting my father. How dare she? And what would she know anyway? Over the past 12 to 18 months, I'd noticed my father becoming increasingly forgetful and confused. He also slept a lot and would often repeat himself. I once found my father wandering about in the vineyard with no shoes on. Even though I didn't really like Ursula, I was glad that there was someone around to look after my father while I was out working. Not even 2 days had passed since my father's death, when Ursula threw all of my things out into the yard. She has changed the locks and also refused to let me take Jess, our dog. I've driven past the farm a few times and have seen another man in the house, probably the same one Ursula has been having an affair with whilst father was alive. I've had to go and stay on a friend's sofa. Ursula is also refusing to let me help with any of the funeral plans and refusing to let me onto the farm. The dairy and wine businesses have completely stalled and suppliers are waiting for produce which they have ordered. I have no income and no savings.
I moved down to Sussex to live with my cousins last year after losing my own farm in County Down to a city dweller who promised that investing in his ideas would make my farm millions. Naturally, when I met Giles at a cow auction, we hit it off because I could understand his concerns about his farm. Diversifying too much ruined my farm. Sure, he was a little older than me, but he was a nice man who treated me well and saw the world the same way I see it. Besides, we both love dairy farming. Of course, being the out-of-towner, I endured my fair share of gossiping and rumours about my personal life and motivations for hanging out with Giles. Such is rural life. I love Giles, but I admit I never liked his son. Milo treated his father like an unwanted burden, constantly complaining that Giles holds him back. If Milo wanted to be a lawyer, he should have gone back to London, not sit around on the farm blaming his father for his own regrets. Milo had grandiose ideas for how the farm should be run and didn't care for Giles or myself trying to keep his feet on the ground. Milo wanted full control of the farm without Giles. Milo said he wanted to sell the cows and expand the vineyard, which Giles obviously opposed. The two of them argued about it frequently, and whenever I spoke up, Milo always told me it wasn't my place and that I shouldn't talk back to him. Giles had pride in his farm and his produce. He hated the thought of his family dairy farm being replaced by a winery. It was his idea to amend his will so that Milo wouldn't be able to destroy the farm. We didn't know much about the law, but I heard that you need witnesses to amend a will, so I asked a couple of acquaintances to help. I thought that perhaps the witnesses might need to be independent and anonymous, so we didn't list their names. When Giles became ill, my relationship with Milo only got worse. Milo refused to help out with caring for his father in any way. That left it to me to look after Giles, while Milo was allowed free rein to do whatever he pleased with the farm. When Giles or I tried to intervene, Milo used Giles' illness against him. He threatened to use his legal contacts to have Giles ruled medically unfit to run a company. He even threatened to have Giles sectioned if he tried to interfere with Milo's running of the farm. Giles wanted to seek medical help, but he was too frightened that Milo would use any diagnosis against him. This definitely contributed to Giles' condition worsening and ultimately to his death. After Giles died, I did my best to extend an olive branch to Milo, forgiveness and all that, but he didn't want to know. He kept arguing about wanting his farm back and threatening to sue me. It just wasn't possible to continue living together, so I asked him to leave. I wish we'd been able to figure something out, but it wasn't to be. It's been hard since losing Giles. I have tried to keep the farm going, but it has been a struggle and I've fallen behind with the bills. I closed the vineyard because it was losing money and Giles wanted it gone. I'm refocusing on the dairy business and one of my cousins has moved in to help me run things. Hopefully with him around we can turn things around, but I'm concerned about Milo's threats of legal action. I'm not sure I have the resources to fight off a legal challenge from Milo's friends in London.